Hi, my name is Milena and this is my digital story of my time in Cape Town. Day 1, we met for the first time with Housing Assembly, a social movement of people representing over 20 different communities in the Western Cape of South Africa. The Housing Assembly was choosing to address the housing inequalities across South Africa, as their slogan was decent housing for all. But it's a lot more than just housing. The crisis extends to food, water, education, gang violence, and so much more. Just in my first week, I learned so much about the housing crisis in relation to the apartheid, and honestly, I was really overwhelmed. I didn't even know where to begin because this isn't a one solution fixes all problem. In trying to understand the complexities behind the housing crisis, I also had to recognize how my own perspectives could shape the way I think and process what I was learning. I made a conscious effort to set aside my own experiences and previous schemas and open my eyes to a completely new environment. One of the first lessons I learned was understanding my own positionality, what it means to be an outsider, to come from a different place, and to be welcomed into spaces that hold deep meaning for the people here. Auntie Kashifa and Kenneth have been quite amazing into allowing us to these communities. In a space where I was supposed to be serving, I felt that they were giving a lot more back to me, as they both made sacrifices with their times, opened doors and introduced me to their peers, to individuals from other movements, and allowed me to witness the power of collective action firsthand. Something else that stood out to me during my time here was the power of culture in a building movement. Art, music, speeches, plays, physical artwork, food, these aren't just expressions. They're tools for resistance and a way to preserve history and forms of empowerment. Different individuals would give workshops to the public about gender-based violence. Different speeches would rally the community and give people a voice. Words of power would be chanted and would unite the community as a whole. In this small video, you'll see how this performance speaks to the struggle of gender-based violence. And more importantly, you'll see the strength, resilience, and the power behind these messages within this act. When people talk about their time abroad, you often hear, "I've learned so much about myself." And sure, that's true, but what I've come to understand more is that it's not about the individual journey, but it's about learning the place within your community. At the platform event, I saw a quote that resonated with me deeply. Community matters far more than the self-improvement culture that, rooted in a sense of personal lack, always demands for more, when the answer is simple. Love is the healing balm and brings the same balm to the wound. In our class, we talked about Ubuntu, the African way of living that means I am because you are, and seeing it in action tied everything in my experience here together. Kindness, forgiveness, the power of listening. These are what connect people, and it shows how we can make sense of the world and find where we belong. At first, I felt like I couldn't make much of a difference. I mean, how could I when the housing crisis is so huge? But I've come to realize that every action, every word, every interaction matters. Tiny acts can shift narratives, and the strength of a community comes from these moments, whether it's accompanying someone to a court case, sharing a conversation with a stranger who becomes a friend, or simply listening to someone's lived experiences. I actually bought a book called Everyday Ubuntu, and it says, with Ubuntu, we all count, and so does everything we do. Even the smallest act has the potential to snowball into something bigger. And even if it doesn't seem to make an impact immediately, the possibility that it could is enough to make it worth trying, because you'll never know what will happen until you do. I just wanted to come here face to face for a second and say within my 6 weeks here, I've learned so much from my professors, my peers, my classmates, different people I worked with in Housing Assembly, and I still am learning so much about service learning in general and just the term and everything that comes behind it. But that has been just a little snippet of my 6 weeks in my service learning experience here in Cape Town.